A stunning new congressional report reveals the shocking truth about how far the murderous dictatorship of the Chinese Communist Party is willing to go to deliver a deadly blow to the American people through the drug trade. But the Biden administration seems to be trying to cover it up and keep it quiet. Welcome to the only voice telling the real, unvarnished truth about the crimes of China's communist bosses. When Biden took office as president, he promised America that adults capable of bringing order had arrived. He has made so-called diplomacy the fortress cornerstone of his China policy, which in reality means constant concessions and ingratiation to the CCP dictatorship. One can hardly see Secretary Blinken swallow the lump in his throat when Biden explicitly calls Chinese dictator Xi Jinping a dictator. In fact, the Biden administration deliberately kept the Chinese spy balloon story hidden from Americans so that it would not prevent Blinken from going on his planned capitulation visit to China. But apparently it is possible to make some concessions to a criminal authoritarian regime from time to time when it comes to something supposedly more important. For example, the ongoing fentanyl crisis. On average, more than 200 Americans die every day from overdoses of this synthetic opioid, and the lion's share of fentanyl, or at least the chemical components to make it, comes specifically from China. This hellish trade in death has been going on for a very long time. Obama raised this issue with Xi when he was president. Trump did the same, and now Biden is doing the same. Last year, Biden even lifted some sanctions on China in exchange for a promise to supposedly help curb fentanyl trafficking. But hey, it's not all bad. China seems to be trying. In 2022, the Biden administration released a report of synthetic opioid smuggling. It was originally ordered back in late 2019 under then-President Trump. But Biden officials ended up staffing the team themselves and writing the very text of that report. It claimed that China had allegedly taken some sort of steps to curb fentanyl production. The problem is that China is the only country in the world where fentanyl is officially used, including for legal purposes. The chemical and pharmaceutical industry in China is so huge that it is physically impossible for the CCP government to fully control it. The real threat is posed by clandestine illegal manufacturers who collaborate with hardcore drug cartels. This is why Washington argues it is necessary to cooperate with Beijing in the fight against fentanyl. However, there is one little but. It turns out that the Biden administration's report was either an outright lie or, at best, a naively idealistic interpretation of reality. For the new report, prepared not by a corrupt administration but by the U.S. Congress, conclusively proves that the production and export of deadly fentanyl in China is directly supervised and subsidized by the top leadership of the Communist Party. So did the Biden administration deliberately try to cover up these heinous facts, just as it tried to hide the truth about the Chinese spy balloon? I'll talk about all of that after a short break. Welcome back. According to this explosive new report from the Congressional Joint Select Committee on the CCP, Chinese Communist Party authorities aren't just turning a blind eye to fentanyl production in the country. They're directly subsidizing and encouraging it. The investigation found that beginning in at least 2018, the Communist Party provided direct government subsidies to companies exporting fentanyl and other synthetic drugs in the form of value-added tax refunds. Let me repeat again these monstrous facts. Chinese companies are receiving tax breaks and rebates from the murderous communist CCP regime for exporting illegal deadly drugs. This clearly does not look like a sincere effort by Beijing to curb the country's growing fentanyl production. Moreover, the Chinese Communist Party also gave special grants, awards, and bonuses to companies that were brazenly exporting fentanyl overseas. CCP officials personally inspected the factories of these drug couriers, and some fentanyl exporters even employed members of the ruling Communist Party to directly supervise them. And when the U.S. tried to invoke bilateral cooperation mechanisms and allow its investigators to inspect these factories, Chinese authorities warned the targets of future investigations every time. But what's so surprising when most of these drug labs are state-owned and directly controlled by the Communist Party itself? Yes, many fentanyl exporting companies are owned by the Chinese state. Yafeng Biological Technology is a prime example. This nefarious firm brazenly boasted of 10 years of experience in drug trafficking and guaranteed that its deadly goods would pass the customs of any country thanks to special packaging. And Yafeng belonged to the CCP labor camp, the same prison system that bullies, tortures, and kills prisoners of conscience, followers of the spiritual practice of Falun Gong. Let us once again feel the cynicism of this situation. The CCP dictatorship's state prison, where innocent people are held under torture, was simultaneously in the business of exporting drugs that kill Americans. Think about that for a moment. And this is just one specific example that supports the extensive evidence base that was already available that Chinese triads and money launderers connected to drug cartels and fentanyl shipments have the most direct ties to the top of the Communist Party. So why then did the Biden administration portray the situation in a diametrically opposed light in its 2022 report? Were they so desperate to preserve the dialogue and supposedly constructive working relationship with Beijing that they chose to completely ignore and hide the nightmarish truth? The truth that hundreds of Americans have been dying every day for years now because of the Chinese Communist Party's drug aggression. Even assuming they weren't purposefully trying to hide the facts about the CCP's crimes, the Biden administration certainly didn't seek to make that information public. At best, they naively believed the Communist Party's assurances that it was supposedly fighting the spread of fentanyl. In reality, though, the murderous CCP regime instead literally had a daily bloody windfall from this deadly drug traffic. I know it's hard to believe that the smiling man shaking your hand is actually secretly weaving a conspiracy to murder your countrymen. But China, under the Communist Party's oppression, is by no means a normal country. And the Biden administration's biggest mistake is treating the CCP's criminal regime as normal and behaving accordingly, including the fact that they naively gave the Communist Party the benefit of the doubt in its alleged efforts to crack down on fentanyl exports. Too complicated for a totalitarian state that has total control over its own people. The fact is that the CCP is a Marxist-Leninist regime, and their real openly proclaimed goal is the destruction and annihilation of America. No wonder the Communist Party hates it when I keep reminding people of this unpleasant fact. That's why the Chinese state media calls China uncensored, disgusting anti-China garbage. But these communist bosses haven't seen anything yet. I'll just lightly hint that I have a really big expose in preparation right now that I'm sure you'll really enjoy. Thank you all so much for watching the video to the end. Don't forget to put a like under this video and subscribe to the channel. I wish you all a great mood, good health, and success in all your endeavors. Take care of yourself and your loved ones. See you again.